Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. You never know what you're going to get in the NFC South. Although all four teams made some moves in the offseason to try to boost their chances of winning, this has been all Bucs as of late. 4 straight NFC South titles. Maybe a few offseason acquisitions could change that. One of the newer faces, though, is Emeka Egbuka. He was taken by the Bucs at 19th overall, and he is already settling right in. You're looking at video of Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield showing the ultimate Southern hospitality. He actually picked up Egbuka from the airport and took his entire family out to brunch to get to know him. GM Jason Light saying that Mayfield asked for his number immediately, picked them up, and broke bread with this new offensive weapon. The offensive line, a few of the faces there also in attendance. But certainly an exciting way to start off your NFL career if you're Emeka Egbuka. And let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the division. We're going to hand out some grades as we welcome in our Logan Ryan and Charles Davis. Logan, before we get into the grades, I'm just curious, seeing that video, where does that take you back to? Did you have a draft story or something similar there?
Well, the first thing when I saw that video is the offensive line is not going to miss a free meal. So I knew they were going to be there, especially if Baker's paying for it. It reminded me of my first time going into New England Patriots building, getting drafted by the Patriots in the 3rd round. I started playing the sport of football in 1999 when I was 8 years old. I believe Tom Brady's first season in the NFL was 2000. So my first year playing was his first year basically as a rookie for the Patriots. And I was so nervous to meet him. I mean, man, I was shaking to see what I'm going to say to Tom Brady. And I looked around the hallway, and he was walking down the hall, and I was going to have to pass him. And, oh, man, my palms started getting sweaty, mom spaghetti. But luckily, Tom Brady came up to me, and he said, hey, you're Logan Ryan, the 3rd round out of Rutgers, right? Listen, man, we really need you. You're going to be a huge help for us. We got a lot of Rutgers guys already. We had the McCourtys there and all that. But he said, if you ever need me, I'm here early. You want to pick my brain. So similar to what Baker did, took all the awkwardness, the nervousness. You're doing a jump up, and sometimes you got to pay with your role models. I was playing with Tom Brady, but he did that. Great leader, and that's what that Baker Mayfield story reminded me of.
Man, that's a cool one there. Tom Brady, welcome you to the organization. It doesn't get much better than that. Let's get to some grades, though, gentlemen. Logan, you're going to give us the grade and tell us why. Charles, you'll react to said grade. Let's start with the Bucs, the team that has dominated this division over the last 4 seasons, looking for number 5. The big thing there, we just talked about Emeka Egbuka, but they also locked up Chris Godwin there. Logan, you gave them a C+. Tell us more.
Yeah, I'm an extremely harsh grader, and it's because as an NFL veteran, I don't believe in any of these offseason grades truly. Look at the Bears last year. They got an A++ from everybody in the media. Their coach was fired midway. Well, you got to pump the brakes on this. A lot of this stuff has to be a fit. There's a lot of trust. I live in Tampa. I played for the Bucs. There's a lot of trust in Jason Light. He knows how to get good character guys that love to play ball, and that's a lot of this draft process, right? They make some acquisitions here. Let's start in free agency. Hassan Reddick, a pass rusher, still has some juice. We believe he can come down here and do some good things. I love Egbuka, a good kid, loves the game. Obviously, they're trying to get the most explosive offense in football with him and Tez Johnson. And then Benjamin Morrison. This is a good kid, Todd Bowles. Coaches his DBs. Benjamin Morrison actually called me after the draft, knowing I live in Tampa, wanted to pick my brain. Who's your trainer? Who's your nutritionist? What do I got to do? What do I need to know? So I think that Bucs legends like Levante David, leaders in the locker room like that, they're getting some good character guys. They got some fits at some good parts. I think they've had a really good offseason so far. But sometimes with these rookies, I'm quick to hand out A's after draft days. It doesn't work like that. I love the Bucs core, and that first-round draft pick gives time for Chris Godwin to get healthy, to get on the field and have to rush him back. I expect big offense out of the Bucs this year with some of these acquisitions. And obviously, you know what Todd Bowles wants to do on defense is pressure the quarterback.
And Logan, giving harsh grades, tough grades, that's pretty cool because that's what it's like going from college to the NFL. It's not the easy transition. It's like the re-entry if you're up in a space capsule and you come back into the Earth's atmosphere, the bump that they call it, that can be jarring at times. Todd Bowles played in Washington with Benjamin Morrison's dad. All right, so another connected thread that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team has. Obviously, Baker welcoming him in, and as Logan pointed out, the offensive line will never miss a chance to eat, especially on someone else's dime. But here's what I like about what they've done. They brought in productive college players. Like when you look at each and every one of them, they have numbers. They made things happen for their collective squads. Traits, I like traits. I like production better. That's what Jason Light has brought in here in this draft. Ibuka's going to play right away. Benjamin Morrison's got a chance to jump in there. They don't have a lot of open slots, but they like competition. Morrison and Jacob Parrish at the corner will compete. I think Parrish would be a backup, maybe possibly look at the nickel spot. But all in all, production. That's what I like about what they've done. And keep an eye on David Walker. Central Arkansas, small college guy, but boy, 30-plus sacks in college. There's a guy named Shaq Barrett with similar physique that got things done for Tampa previously.
I do want to say that C+ is the highest grade that we are handing out in this segment. So let's move on to the Falcons, who got a C from Logan. Obviously, the big things that we're looking at here, Michael Penix taking over for Kirk Cousins, so it'll be his first chance at the starter there. They also extended that fifth-year option to Drake London. Why the C here when it comes to the Falcons, Logan?
Listen, nobody's getting over a C in my class. C+, the best you're going to see in this one. You don't win the NFL in the offseason. You just don't. And we've been mentioning that. Look, they found Michael Penix Jr. They found their quarterback. That is key. That is essential. What you're doing with Kirk Cousins, I have no idea. They went after pass rush. They went after pass rush hard, obviously, in this offseason. They had the second worst pass rush in the NFL last year, second worst in sacks. How they address that. Trade all their picks to get Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. Those are the guys they had targeted. They're going all in. Those guys are going to have to produce. It is hard to count on rookies right away in the NFL. There is a process where you got to get to it, but they're going all in. They only had 5 draft picks. I do like Xavier Watts as well out of Notre Dame, the safety there. I think he's a good player. But the Falcons went all in. They went all in on this draft. They didn't do much more after this. They found their quarterback. They have a Kirk Cousins situation. He'll probably be on the team this year. I'm not sure how they handle that. The offense didn't change that much. They went all in to address this pass rush, and obviously they got Leonard Floyd as well in free agency. So they're going all in to have a dominant defensive line. They need to. When you have a young quarterback, hopefully you run the ball with Bijan Robinson, and then you sit there and rush the passer to try to play defense. So that's what they went in. It's got to work because of how much picks they gave up to go after those pass rushers.
2 years in a row, Terry Fontenot's the GM was bold. So we're hoping that fortune favors the bold, right? Penix last year when no one expected it. And this year, not just getting Jalen Walker in the first round out of Georgia, but doubling down and coming back into the first round and giving up a 2026 first round pick for James Pierce from Tennessee. Logan, as you remember, the last real good pass rusher the Falcons had was Vic Beasley, and he was a one-year wonder, 15.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles. Before that, it was John Abraham, who was one of those 4 Jets that were drafted in the first round, what seems like an eternity ago. So Atlanta fans have been looking forward to this. Terry Fontenot gave them 2. I'm with you on Xavier Watts. I'm also with you on Billy Bowman, the safety out of Oklahoma, who I think they're going to play at the nickel instead of playing him as a pure safety. Both of those 2, ball hawks. So I really like what Atlanta did in this draft. I know the grade is a C because Logan, our professor, is going to make you earn it.
I don't know that I want to ever be in Logan Ryan's class, honestly. I was a straight A student growing up, but I feel like his course might be just a little bit difficult there. Let's talk about the Panthers, who were given a C-. Of course, the big thing with the Panthers last year was Bryce Young getting benched. It seems like they're still trying to buy into him a little bit here, Logan. Got Tet McMillan in the draft here, but tell us more about your C- when it comes to the Panthers.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where I'm not completely understanding what these teams did and why they did it. But look, they have Dave Canales. I think he's a really good head coach. Nothing but great, remarks for him throughout the league. People love him. He's obviously built there and brought there to get the best out of Bryce Young, and that's what he's stuck with, and that's what he wants to do. And he's gotten better throughout the year. You saw the last 3 starts there. So what do? Dave Canales comes from Tampa Bay. Gets him Tet McMillan, his version of Mike Evans. Perfect. The big body receiver across from another big body receiver in Xavier Legette. However, when I hear a receiver tell me, a rookie wide receiver or a drafted wide receiver say he doesn't watch a bit of film, doesn't like watching film study, that is going to be a tough transition in the NFL. If you're going to guard number 1 or go up against number 1 cornerbacks, you're going to have to start watching film. There's a lot more coverages out there he's got to figure out, a lot to learn. So they got to get him to buy in. Not saying he's not. I'm saying you're not going to get away being a big body wide receiver in the NFL without watching film. They had the worst defense in football last year. Absolutely. One of the worst ever. Look at the stats. Look at the numbers. We focus so much on the quarterback play. Everything is last. 400 yards per game, 6 yards per play. The rushing defense, all that's bad. I've sat in a lot of defensive meetings. This gets you fired. Absolutely. So what do? Free agency, they attack it, bring in 2 new safeties in Trevon Moehrig and Xavier Woods. Obviously, lock up J.C. Horn for a long time. A very, very good corner. When he got that money, every top corner went to their agent and said, I need a raise, because he shouldn't be getting paid more than every other corner in the league. So he's getting everyone a raise, and we like that. So they addressed it. They addressed their safety position. They addressed their secondary and free agency. They got the big receiver, but it's not the big key free agents that you think is going to make a huge change here. So I got to see what they're doing. I like the coach. They got the young quarterback, but they have a lot of questions to address to be competitive this next year.
And Logan, fortunately for Dan Morgan, their GM, they had a lot of picks that they could use this year, and they had to use them. They're going to get Derek Brown back. They're Pro Bowl defensive tackle. They're going to try and build around him. So I'll start on the defensive side first. Getting Skirton in the second round. He was a guy that when he plays at 260, 265, I think that's when he's at his best. He got up to about 280, 285 last year, became more of a base end rather than a rush end. They need him rushing the quarterback and getting after people. He's going to get a chance to play early. And it should be ahead of Jadeveon Clowney before too much longer. Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss, formerly of Florida, another edge rotational guy that'll jump in there and play for them. I really like Lathan Ransom, the safety that's going to come in and play. Logan, I think he will eventually play next to Merrick. I think they'll be the starting safeties before too much longer. Cam Jackson is a monster rotational defensive tackle. Let's see if he can get himself in shape so he can give him a few more plays. That's what I liked on defense. On the offensive side, you had to take care of the quarterback, right? You pointed out getting Ted McMillan. Smaller quarterback, you want bigger targets. Inaccurate quarterback, although Bryce Young is usually accurate, but inaccurate quarterback, big targets. That's what Ted McMillan gives them outside. I like that. Legette's got to catch the football. If he does, that thing jumps up for them. Trevor Etienne at running back, that's hedging your bets. Chuba Hubbard got hurt last year. Jonathan Brooks is going to be out again with a knee injury. They had to bring in someone to give them some help, and they're hoping that he can provide that along the way. The guy I'm going to keep an eye on is Mitchell Evans, the tight end. They've been trying to get tight end right for a while, haven't they, Logan? Mm-hmm. Mitchell Evans is going to end up getting him in the 5th round. He's going to press for playing time because he's a good combo player and catches the ball, moves better than what I think people expect. So all in all, Dan Morgan had a lot of holes to fill and a lot of needs. He tried to address them in this draft.
Shout out to Chuba Hubbard last year for saving my fantasy team. I quite literally put the team on his back last year, and he carried me quite a far way. So we'll wrap up our conversation here, guys, by talking about the Saints. Quarterback issues aplenty when it comes to them. We don't know the status of Derek Carr as he's dealing with another injury. They did draft his potential replacement in Tyler Shuck. Logan, but new head coach Kellen Moore will start his career with a C- as his offseason grade.
Yeah, and this was inevitable. Not his fault. This was coming for a long time. The Saints roster's been aging. They've been kicking the can in terms of repaying guys and restructuring guys, and now you got to pay the bill. Not able to get too active in free agency. The worst news of the Saints offseason, I don't care, is Derek Carr's injury. I mean, when your star quarterback, the guy that you've invested all this money to want to be the face of the franchise, comes in, not playing extremely well, but playing good enough, capable starting football to then have an injury where he might not be ready to play right away or might not play much this season, that is jarring. This is going to be all on Tyler Shuck. This was the choice that they made in this draft. This guy's going to be compared to Shedeur Sanders and some of these other quarterbacks for quite some time. That was a shocking pick. Kelvin Banks got the offensive line ready, got a great offensive lineman there. That's the safest thing to do. Try to run the ball, try to make it easier. But you got Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck competing at starting quarterback right now in this division and try to take off the Bucs from the top there. You look at their acquisitions in free agency, Isaac Yiadom, Justin Reed, they bring back Chase Young, they bring back Brandon Cooks. This looks like free agency from 3 years ago. Weren't these guys Saints before? So I don't know what they're doing there, but they didn't have a lot of options to work with. They didn't have a lot of money in free agency. And obviously this was, I think, a shocking pick for a lot of people in the draft there to choose this quarterback, 3rd in this draft class. But we will see. Kellen Moore knows how to evaluate quarterbacks, or he was a quarterback. So this is the guy they put their money on. But they did not go out there and splash it up. This was not a splash offseason for them. They are trying to put bandages on bullet holes right now over there in New Orleans and try to do the best they can because this has been coming for a long time.
Well, Professor Ryan, I'm going to tell you right off the top, you remind me of a professor I had in college. I handed a paper one time and got it back. You know what it said at the top? This paper is so bad that I failed not only you, but everyone that looks like you. So I understand this tough grading. So I get it. Here's the deal. Kelvin Banks coming in at tackle. Talisi Fuaga was their choice last year, first round at tackle. One of them's going to play left, one of them's going to play right. It looks like they can move Banks to left and take Fuaga, last year's left tackle, move him to right tackle. Logan, does that not sound like Mickey Loomis over the years, drafting for offensive line as he did for Sean Payton, making sure they're secure there? Then you get Shuck, and I think you're right. He's going to be the tail of this draft for them. Can he come in and compete right away? Because Spencer Rattler's there, Jake Haener's there, Havener's there. He should be the guy that just should emerge. 3 schools, 4 degrees, 26 years old. He's got to be able to go right now. Going deeper into this draft, I think they drafted guys that are going to take over in the future, because you mentioned an aging roster. Well, his secondary is Justin Reed and Tyron Mitchell. So you draft Jonas Sanker, who I really like at the University of Virginia. At linebacker, Demario Davis is the ageless wonder. He keeps going. But at some point, so they get Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma. These guys should be ready to go. Quincy Riley, deep into the draft, a 4th rounder. He's going to press to start on the corner. Tough, hard-nosed kid, very active on the corner. He'll press to do that. But all in all, trying to get it fixed. Here's the thing, though, Logan. In this division, everyone thinks they have hope. Tampa Bay's won it 4 straight years. But they haven't run away with the division since Tom Brady's second to last year in Tampa. Remember, the last 3 years, they were 8-9, 9-8, 10-7. Everyone feels like they can still get there, even New Orleans. I think right now Atlanta's best positioned.
I said it off the top. This division is always crazy, no matter how you slice it up. Guys, I'm giving you both an A+ for your effort here as we grade the NFC South. And as we take a look at the odds to win the division, it is once again the Bucs at +110, looking for their 5th straight division title in the NFC South. The Saints have a chance, but it's quite long there at +700.